It's been a great day. You can very clearly see that it is possible. You can very easily see that entropy can be reversed. You can very clearly see that it is from the dearth of the scorching earth. It's from those embers, from those ashes, that you see the future rising as a phoenix, and looking forward to a much happier tomorrow for the rural areas that we are in. The future of hope is here. It's good to be here with it. And you're welcome. We shall go in and see the power plant. Yeah. This is 32 kilowatts.
32 kilowatts.
Yes, it uses about 50 kilograms of biomass every hour.
Huh.
So 50 kilograms of biomass to make 32 kilowatts. It's actually, so this is the biomass we use.
Okay.
So what happens is the electricity powers the mills, and the mills process the rice.
Yeah.
And we get the rice husk coming out here.
This is all rice husk.
This whole rice husk. And when the husk comes out here, it's a mixture with some groundnut shells as well. But when the husks come out here, we now dry it very simply in there. So we've got another simpler dryer on the other side, where the crops are brought first, as soon as they are processed, and kind of harvested.
Yep.
And
you're earning money from the milling.
We're earning money from the milling. And then we now get and we actually charge below market price to attract them to bring us this.
Yeah.
So when we have all this waste, it's now put into the gasifier, and it's gasified at about 900 degrees Celsius.
Mm-hmm.
That breaks it down to methane and hydrogen, goes into the gasifier, through the filtration system, into the engine, generates the electricity at 400 volts, goes straight into power the three-phase machines in there. Okay. So our machines right now need about 200 kilowatts. So we've got over 150 kilowatts of less capacity than we need. Okay. But it still works because it's better to have, to have more demand than less demand.
Exactly.
And so it justifies us now scaling this up to 500 kilowatts, because then we have all the power we need, plus the excess for the neighborhood. It has been great today to host the USAID mission director and his team from USAID HQ in Kampala, and the team from the Power Africa Uganda Electricity Supplies Accelerator, represented by the Deputy Chief of Mission.
Is this unit? Where did you get this?
So this gasifier we got from Husk Power Systems. Husk Power Systems, they are, I think they're one of the early Power Africa partners.
Okay.
Back at the very beginning. They're a startup from India, and they make these gasifiers.
Okay.
So
and is this the same type of unit that you're gonna
put
everywhere else?
No, this is the unit we've used for testing, because it was the most affordable one we could get for proof of concept.
Yeah.
And we partnered with Makerere University in Kampala to put this one here. And it's been working for us as a training site and also as a proof of concept site. So what's interesting about this is, as with other gasifiers from Nextera from the US and others, is the biochar which comes out.
Yeah.
So that actually is quite a valuable product.
So this is interesting, yeah. So you're able to briquette this.
We're able to
sell
briquette this and sell it as a cooking fuel.
Yeah.
And that allows us to have revenues from the waste.
Yeah.
It can also be washed and cleaned and put in the soil as a soil enhancer.
Okay, so it's
and so and that additional revenue allows us to run this without need for additional subsidies.
Yeah.
So this is our subsidy, basically, if you think about it that way.
So you're getting paid to bring it in.
Yes.
You're getting paid on the electricity.
Yes.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And then you're getting paid for.
Yes.
This
and
waste
so
product.
and that's what effectively makes it viable.
That's what makes it
Yeah.
viable. Yeah.
And the solar backing it up allows this to run 24 hours a day.
Okay.
Because we run this 12 hours a day, then having solar coming on for 12 hours a day gives us a full cycle. And then that allows the mini grid to kind of be served as it's needed.
So the mini grid is 24 hours,
Yes.
even though this is only running 12.
Exactly.
And then
And that's the
And then the briquette, like, so of the sort of that revenue breakdown
Yes.
between the three sources of revenue.
yes,
The milling, the power, and this.
yes.
Ultimately, when this is functioning the
Yeah,
way you
yeah.
want it to be, what will the percentages be?
So with if you put milling together with the electrification all together, then you probably have a breakdown of about a third from milling, a third from electricity, and a third from the waste.
Really?
Yes, third. If
Okay.
you split the milling away,
Yeah.
then it's pretty much 50-50 this and electricity.
That is amazing that this is that valuable.
Yes.
I would have thought you were to say something like 80% electricity, 20% from
No, it's really valuable. It's our largest, and this actually cement industry. So Lafarge Holcim buys this in dried form as a replacement for coal,
Yeah.
and that actually, because carbon credits comes as a result of that, it pushes the price up.
Now, is this any better from an emission standpoint than other sort of charcoal? It's the same thing, right?
It is the same thing from the emission standpoint. However, since
You're not having to go down and cut down trees.
since
so
you've not
that's-
cut down
yeah.
trees, but secondly, you've already taken electricity out of this. So you've
Yeah.
taken energy out of this to produce electricity,
Yeah.
and you're taking energy out of it again to
Yeah.
do your cooking.
Yep.
And that's what's quite interesting. But when we go back down, I'll get my colleagues to test the newest kind of briquette that we've just started making,
Yeah.
which allows us to briquette the husks right from the way it is, non-carbonized, to store it all year round in the warehouses. And then that briquette can now be used in a gasifier stove, and then it also produces a biochar, which can then be sold to to other people or so on and so forth. And I'd say
And so
it
briquetting it that way helps
Yes.
with storage.
to storage.
Right, you can have a smaller space
Exactly.
for storing it.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
less susceptible to blowing away.
Exactly,
or
exactly,
mold
and all
or
the rest of
other
that,
things,
yeah.
impurities. My name is Richard Nelson. I'm the mission director at Usaid Uganda. Well, I arrived in January, so I experienced about 2 months of Uganda before the lockdown occurred. And I was able to see a little bit of Uganda, but whenever I go to a country to live, I like to spend that first 6 months or year just visiting as many places as possible. And this experience has been different. I've seen my house and my compound for the most part. We spent about the first hour just getting out of Kampala with all the traffic. But then it was just a beautiful drive coming north out of Kampala up to this area to see the different communities, the different regions. The topography was different, the culture was different as you could progress. Crossing the Nile was interesting. I hadn't seen the Nile in probably almost 30 years. So that was in Egypt. So it was a great experience coming up here.
My name is Fabian Haisiwe. I am the Generation Director at USAID's Power Africa Uganda Electricity Supply Accelerator. At Power Africa Uganda Electricity Supply Accelerator, we basically work in 3 work streams, which is the generation work stream, access to on-grid access to electricity, and also off-grid access, as well as working with stakeholders within the enabling environment in the electricity sector. My previous assignment, I worked with the West Nile Rural Electrification Company Limited, which is across the Nile from here. So I made numerous journeys to within this region, and I'm quite familiar with the different aspects of electricity, special access within the region, the lack of electricity, especially in West Nile. We all know the challenges that I've been going there, and of course Nwooya being a new district with limited access to electricity, so I'm quite familiar with the district and the region.
Well, like I said previously, I was helping to manage and run Power Africa before coming to Uganda. So I had been to a number of different Power Africa sites, but I had never been to a generation site like this one, like a pilot project, gasification with biomass. So for me, this is a new experience to be able to see this. I'd read about it, I'd seen it on paper, but to come and actually see it working as a test case has been really interesting. And the potential for that as a source of power throughout Uganda is, I think, pretty impressive.
Yes, I must say this is my first visit to any of the sites here at the Mandulis energy sites. Like I mentioned to you previously, I work as a generation director, and in the context of Mandulis, I've been majorly working together with the sponsors on the development of the 20 megawatt generation project, which is a component of this overall scheme. You'll appreciate that there are two aspects to the scheme, the way we understand it. What we're seeing here, which is the off-grid developments of 16 sites, which will ultimately feed into the 20 megawatt site. Now, since the 20 megawatt site is really we started with it at the pre-feasibility study stage. There's really no site per se, it's more of a concept. And we've been working with the developer to develop the project to get to a level where it is, financially and commercially viable. So in that sense, I wasn't much involved in making trips to the site, but I have my colleagues who are working more on the off-grid aspect of Power Africa Uganda Accelerator, who have made quite a number of trips up here. But I'm delighted to be here to experience what's being done on the off-grid side, and of course having interacted with the developer and worked with consultants on the project in terms of development of studies. Then it's also good to come on the ground and see how that will ultimately feed into the bigger picture, which is the 20 megawatt project.
Oh, my name is Johnson Kezikia Nyeko, and I'm the chairman of Mandulis Energy. What motivated me is very interesting, because in the first place, in the past, we know electricity as being generated by hydropower, principally Jinja Owen Falls, the traditional place of electricity. But now, when electricity is to be generated using biomass, the dry straws, the rice husks, the maize cobs, peanut shells, etc., name it, it became more interesting.
We have been supported in the development of our off-grid and grid-connected projects under development by the Power Africa program, initially through Tetra Tech, and now through POESA, and we've come a long way. We began project development in 2015, and now we have our feasibility studies completed for a 20 megawatt grid-connected project, and for 16 off-grid projects at over half a megawatt each, which is quite great. And our existing pilot here in Pamin, Olango, in Latoro, in Godapoya sub-county near Latoro, we've had them visit and see exactly how each of our off-grid sites will end up working. They've come to see how we turn agricultural produce, fresh from the farmers, how we move it here, how we dry it, clean it, process it, to release the biomass, which we then use as the feedstock to power the power plant and to make the briquettes for clean cooking.
So coming through to this part of Uganda has been interesting today, to be able to see the farmland, kind of brings back those memories. But what's more interesting is to actually see the business model of this place and how it is tapping into needs that the local farmers have in terms of milling requirements, market access, getting rid of biomass that would normally just be wasted in some way. So there's so many different levels of engagement with the local farmers that's really productive. And on top of that, you have this electricity production. So to me, to see this business model here has been just fascinating. And to me, it has a lot of potential. And I'm going to be in Uganda for the next 4 years. And so I hope to be able to see this really expand.
Most certainly, I think the energies are very good. You can see that it's very vibrant, the economic activity going on here. Yes, it's large scale, highly mechanized, but even then, you see that there are lots of opportunities within the farms for local people to be employed. We'd encourage that the farming communities that have come here and settled here and doing the large scale farming also encourage employment of the local people, so they can also benefit from that angle, and so you don't lose that aspect of it, that maybe these are the people actually doing the farming, the commercial farming, are not necessarily indigenous, but they should be able to demonstrate that they're having a social impact on the society and the community here.
We're adding electric mobility, electric transport to move the crops from farmers' fields to us, and move the residues and waste as well, and then move the finished products to those who need it most, such as the refugees in the settlements nearby, as well as the factories in the city, and the households all around, and schools and hospitals, which is great. They're replacing firewood, replacing charcoal, even the industries replacing coal. But especially interesting because all that is due to residues, waste, which we don't call waste, we call residues because they have a value. And it's great. We keep adding, giving value to what has no value, and that makes even those who feel that they may not be as productive as they thought they were, can now have more value in their lives as well. And that's the power of access to renewable energy in rural areas.
We are going to put these processing machines everywhere, and we'll check urban conservation. Urban movement. People move to the urban area to look for jobs. But now when jobs find them at home, these factories that are run at home, it will check urban movement. With the demographic explosion, you have social evils. We are going to check all this because there is no more crowding, no more social evils.
My name is Ojok Geoffrey Abenya. I'm the area chairman LC1 of Layele village, Pamin Olango Parish, Gorofoyo sub-county. Really, I can see something very, very, very good indeed coming, because for us actually, the thing called waste, it means something which cannot work. But for now, when we are soon coming to get the benefit from the waste, is very good, and it is very, very good. Some people are now begging that opportunity, but they cannot get but for us, we have already got it, which is very, very good indeed.
One of the things that I'm really focused on in my position is trying to get organizations like ours to move away from traditional development to working more with the private sector, to help the private sector, companies like this one, to become successful, to develop business models that will last for decades, and that will employ lots of people, and that will generally raise the standard of living in the areas where they're operating. That's what I want to see. I want to see successful businesses pop up and operate all throughout Uganda. That's my focus.
This is a very innovative sort of technology. It's not widely the generation technology that used here, which is basically gasification of the biomass to produce electricity. It's not common here in Uganda, neither is it in Africa, and this is a very interesting project for us to be associated with, to the extent that we need to get this right and be able to then scale it up to, high levels of generation, 20 megawatts, and use this to showcase to the rest of Africa that we can also have biomass as a generation option, an alternative to the traditional, thermal fossil fuel generation and hydro, for which Uganda is well known. But we need alternatives, and they should be encouraged that the work that they're doing here will most certainly be fruitful in the future.
The impact on agriculture is immense. First of all, access to rural, renewable energy, access to renewable energy in rural areas. Access to renewable energy in rural areas is really important, especially productive renewable energy, affordable renewable energy, sustainable renewable energy. Electricity in rural areas at the same price or less than electricity in the urban areas. That is monumental. At the moment, someone in the rural area has to go 100, 200 miles away to process their product. And they can't afford to travel there, so they sell their crop right here, unprocessed, at a minimum price. And that perpetuates that cycle of poverty. But when you now stop that, by giving them an opportunity to add value at source, you give them an opportunity to get a higher price for their product at price, to get a higher value for their time at source, it makes a lot of sense, because they can earn more money to feed their families, improve their livelihood, send their kids to school, pay taxes, build their businesses, build the local economy. The taxes can fix the roads. The taxes can build better schools and hospitals, and you find the economy moving forward. It actually all boils down to this, which is quite interesting.
Well, what's interesting is that it's a power company, a small power company with some other lines of business, but I've been able to sense the human power behind this, and that to me is what is driving this. And I think that your employees, your managers, if they can continue to exhibit that level of human power and innovation and creativity in finding ways to tweak and improve the business model, then I think the sky is the limit in terms of the success that you can find.
This is an interesting project, perhaps the first of its kind in Uganda, biomass from agricultural produce. I know there's other projects, the cogeneration projects from bagasse and the sugar operators, but this is an opportunity to also use biomass from other types of farmers, not only the sugarcane farmers, for electricity generation. Of course, cognizant of the fact that Uganda is in terms of economic activities, agriculture is up there. So it's another opportunity that we need to look at and encourage from a policy perspective the development of biomass generation in Uganda.
Universities are graduating students every day, and there are no jobs. If Mandulis is going to provide about 6,000 professional jobs, that's a serious thing, and we will be remembered for that, because we are going to provide a lot of jobs, not only in these 16 places we are going to put. When the 16 places are up running, then you will find that every part of Uganda will need this kind of service.
It'll be great to have this project which enables rural people to actually access city quality processing, city quality electricity at a price they can afford, but at a matching quality to anything in the world. That would be great. It'll be great to see that people in the rural areas can actually earn enough money from their business of agriculture through value addition to to actually generate enough taxes so that all their district's needs can actually be met by the taxes of the villagers in that district. I mean, it is possible. It is possible when such people, who are a great proportion of our very young population, are more productive and grow this economy. It is very possible that they could even meet the gap in the budget. Think about it. Think about the 64,000 families that will be supplying this project moving forward. Think about the over 1 million people that will be impacted by this. Think about their lives being improved, and think about their impact on this economy. And think about such a method of doing business spreading across Africa and the world and making a difference in those countries. It would be great to help people realize that it is possible. It is possible to do things the right way and still make it succeed. It's great to be a blessing, and it's great to help people make the most of what they can be and make a difference through what they do in this world. It's just great, and it's an honor to have a role in helping them achieve that.